Broadcasting, the station of unlimited possibilities, presents Creating Your Seat at the Table with your host, Ashley Little, as she welcomes her guest to the table.
Welcome to Creating Your Seat at the Table. I am your host, Ashley Little. A little bit about myself: corporate professional by day, entrepreneur by night, five-time best-selling author, CEO and founder of Ashley Little Enterprises, LLC, owner and creator of Creative Broadcasting, and founder and owner of Talk Radio and TV Network, LLC. Tonight we have an amazing special VIP guest by the name of Dr. Ryeal Sims. Dr. Sims, the relationship scientist, is a cognitive neuropsychologist, behaviorist, motivational speaker, and the leading authority on the neuroscience, neurobiology, sex, human behavior of relationships worldwide. A licensed and certified relationship coach, counselor, and marriage facilitator, and body language expert with the Relationship Coaching Institute and the Prepare and Enrich program, Dr. Sims' passion is why we do what we do from an eco, bio, psycho, social, spiritual point of view. Dr. Sims is also a member of the GGI Network of Neuroscience Researchers and a director of neuroscience research for the OptiMind Coach and Leadership Institute, where he integrates the disciplines of cognitive neuropsychology, biology, anthropology, and body language to teach youth, adults, and corporations how to make wise personal and professional relationship choices. Dr. Sims has been featured in numerous publications and media programs, including Essence Magazine and National Public Radio. And he is also a convicted speaker that has shared the stage with the likes of Tavis Smiley, Dr. Cornel West, Dr. Michael Eric Dyson, and others. Welcome to the table, the amazing Dr. Sims.
Hey, thank you so much.
You are welcome. I'm excited to have you back on the show.
Yeah, it's been a minute. I'm glad to be back.
Yes. So let's talk about it, Dr. So let's talk more about your entrepreneurial journey for our listeners that are listening.
Okay.
Hello?
Oh, okay. I'm here. Oh, I'm sorry. What did you say?
Yes, please tell us more about your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, well, I started off as I started off as a filmmaker, and everything that I wanted to do in regards to filmmaking was always a love-themed type of film. And I was also a singer in Chicago. I'm originally from Chicago. And our manager would always ask us to submit our songs, and it was supposed to be dance songs. And I was always submitting love songs, everything about love. And it was like, oh my God, so I always wanted to talk about love. And it got to a point where people started telling me, dude, you should just get into this. You talk about relationships and love and everything. This is probably your calling. And they were right. So I went back to school and actually I became a relationship coach first. But that wasn't. It was totally great. I really loved being a relationship coach, but I needed a little bit more. My brain was asking for more. I wanted to know, I just wanted to know why we do what we do from an eco, bio, psychosocial, and spiritual point of view. So that's when I realized I needed to go back again and get my psychology degrees, get my neuroscience degrees, and learn more about the brain and how does the brain actually work. And from there, I just started working as a speaker and a counselor and facilitator and a consultant. I didn't leave the film industry, so I still work with the film industry as a consultant. So when people are writing love-themed type films, I'm there to add the science in it and relationships to it. So, it's a lot more, but, I know we only have so much time.
I love it. So Dr. Sams, your passion is why we do what we do from an eco, bio, psycho, social, and spiritual point of view. So please tell us more about your passion and why you're so passionate about that.
Well, when we explain things about relationships, sometimes we don't take it full circle. And I was always interested in taking it in the full circle. Like, I always wanted to know, like, for instance, they tell you don't kiss, or, you go to church and the minister says, don't kiss because it leads to something. And I was just always curious about how does it lead to something? What's going on in the brain? And once I started finding out and discovering all of these things that God created, because I just wanted to also be clear, as a scientist, science is merely the discovery of what God created. So I was just so intrigued of learning more about why we do these things, and I just wanted to learn more. And it just became so interesting to me, of understanding as well as body language too, and it just became I just became so passionate about it and wanting to learn more and more and more. Yeah.
I love that. Love that. So you also are the director of neuroscience research, where you teach youth, adults, and corporations how to make wise personal and professional relationship choices. Let's talk about that. And what are the strategies that you use to help them learn how to make those right choices in personal and professional relationships?
Well, professionally, it's really important to understand how we manage our employees and how to make sure that they understand what synergy is, everybody's energy, and putting all of our brain frequency together, that can help us understand. Now, there's another word, centrality, and that's different departments, different groups after you have that synergy, and bringing those groups together as one in your corporation. Oh, man, you could be totally the best corporation in the world once you understand how to bring these brains, all of these different talents that everybody has in each department, and bringing them together and creating synergy and then centrality. And so that's some of the advice that I like to give to corporations. And with youth, I like to just let them know, we have these we have these kids that's out, and we're not being taught about relationships. We're not being taught about girlfriend-boyfriend relationships. And it's just important. Mm-hmm. It's just important to me to explain to them some of the challenges that they're going through, and some of the challenges that they will go through in this girlfriend-boyfriend thing. As I was speaking about the kissing thing too, just to let them know how challenging that is and how that can actually get them in more trouble than good. Because we feel like, oh well, I'm not gonna do anything wrong with my boyfriend when I go over his house. We're just gonna fool around. So that means kissing, and sometimes that can really that's what gets you in trouble, the actual kissing. And so I explain that to kids and explain to them about neurons and pheromones, about our oxytocin and phenylethylamine and serotonin and things like that, and how those drugs are so strong and how it can take over a premature brain that's not developed. As we say, the brain isn't developed until, the age of between 23 and 25. And so it's really important for me to give them that knowledge, and it helps a whole lot. I mean, I've run into students years later. I ran into a student when I was speaking in Spillman, and gosh, they were just saying everything that I had taught them like 10 years ago when they were little kids. I was like, wow, you still remember that. So it has a major effect on them.
Well, let's talk more about the kissing part. Let's go in depth with that. How can that cause things to go left? Let's go in deep for all listeners that are listening, because it might even affect older people outside of just our youth, right?
Well, absolutely. Oh, definitely. It definitely affects adults as well. It's the same thing. If an adult says the same thing, I'm going over his house, but I'm not going to do anything. We're just going to fool around, and it has the exact same effect too as well. So, yeah, when a male kisses a woman, the woman actually receives testosterone from the male's saliva, and that testosterone goes into the ventrotegmental area, the caudate nucleus, the nucleus accumbens area of the brain, which is the pleasure center of the brain, and it's actually the key to opening up arousal in woman, and this causes her it's a good thing and a bad thing. This also helps woman to become more lubricated. And, for married couples, of course, it's even a better thing. But when we are young, we don't realize that kiss is so powerful, because that testosterone is so strong when it goes into the woman's brain, because this is a process. This is something that's there by the laws of nature, for us to start mating, right? And so not only you're receiving the testosterone, now you're receiving other things like the dopamine or oxytocin, because when we're kissing, we're actually smelling too as well. So it's even you're in danger even more when you're ovulating, because when you ovulate, you release a certain pheromone called copulence, and when that man smells the copulence, he also releases a chemical called androstenone. So this causes you to end up having sex on the first night, and this is actually how adults end up having sex on the first night too as well. So just imagine a young lady that's not used to or haven't been in the process of saying no, right? And this is your first time, and all of these chemicals, we're talking about oxytocin, serotonin, phenylethylamine, vasopressin, we're talking about dopamine, all of these things that are coming out at the same time and rushing your brain. Well, what happens in the prefrontal cortex is the area in our brain where it's our executive part of our brain, and this is the part of the brain where we make our decisions. Well, most people don't realize when you're flooded with all of those chemicals, it shuts that part down in the prefrontal cortex. So you're not really able to make cognitive decisions, and you end up doing things that you will regret later on. And, so, yeah, so that's part of it. I can go on. I can go on and on.
And this is getting deep, because I know people, this is a great topic to talk about. It's Love Month anyway. So basically what you're saying is that people who have not been dating for a while, and they get back out there and they've not been practicing saying no, that they're easy to fall. Is that what you're saying? Or if they've not been on the dating scene, or if they've not been in a relationship? Can we talk more about that? Is that what we're saying about how they'll be easier to go? It will be easy to go left for them when they're
absolutely.
out?
Absolutely, and especially for a younger adolescent, that hasn't been in the training of saying no, because they put themselves in that situation. We all experiment. We all want to, what is it like being with a male or a female? So, we sneak off somewhere, and you kiss, and you what do we call it? What do we call it? Fool around, right?
Right.
And for the first time, it's no different than people who are trying drugs for the first time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have people saying, "Oh, yeah, well, I'm not going to become an addict," right? And they try the drugs for the first time and end up getting hooked the first time, right? And that's the same thing that can happen with us too as well, especially with oxytocin, because oxytocin, for those of you who don't know, oxytocin is this bonding chemical that bonds mother and child together, right? So when you're having a child, you're releasing oxytocin, and this is what bonds you. The minute you have your child, the first thing you want to do is to cuddle with the child. You want the child. You want to hold the child, right? And that's the same thing we do when we're being intimate. We want, and oxytocin is being released, you cuddle, right? Well, what happens is you tend to yearn for oxytocin, and your brain knows that only person that brought that oxytocin out in you, and then the next thing you know, you're thinking about that person. So now you think you're in love with that person, and you're not. You're actually in lust with that person because the body is actually yearning for that person to release the oxytocin in your system. Yeah.
Wow. So I know our listeners are listening, are learning some amazing nuggets tonight. So let's talk more about, and I know, Dr. Sims, you are the, relationship expert here. So why do people fall in love?
Well, falling in love actually takes no effort to fall in love. I mean, we fall in love just based on the symmetry of the golden ratio. We fall in love I think it's more important to be a sapiosexual to fall in love, to really know someone and to be really attracted to one's intelligence, but when we do fall in love, it's also based on some of the parts that I also said too as well when we become intimate. So that's why we have to really be careful of becoming intimate too soon. And we have to make sure that these feelings that we feel are real. So what are those feelings? And I'm talking about chemistry too as well, and something that we call the major histocompatibility complex, and our social compatibility. So I think once you discover that this particular person has everything that you're looking for on your list, right, then we tend to gravitate a lot closer to that person, and we end up becoming addicted. And the addiction is the feeling of, I want to see this person again. I want to be with this person, and nothing's going to ever happen wrong with us, and all I do is think about that person when I wake up, and that's part of our addiction to one another, and that's that love feeling that we are actually having and what we're really experiencing. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. So let's talk about how toxic relationships are not always personal, right? You can have toxic relationships and professional relationships. I wanted to go deeper on that topic as well, Dr. Sims, because I know you speak on that as well. And I think when people think about toxic relationships, they think about, personal relationships. No, toxic relationships can be in professional relationships as well. So let's talk more about that and go deeper there for our listeners that are listening, so they'll know, it's not just it's not just in your personal life. It can be in your professional life too, and how to handle those type of relationships in the professional setting.
Yeah, we could be in toxic relationships. We tend to try to be with people based on what we have and what we look like, and not paying attention to who that person is, that personality of that person, right? And and so we try to work it out, and we try to stay in relationships like that, knowing that this person might be a narcissist. And, now that we are in this relationship, we try to actually make that work. And And you're right. You could be in a toxic relationship just as a friend. And I talk about a guy friend that I had. We were really cool, but this dude was a narcissist. I mean, every time I would say things or give advice, or we come up with, we were both relationship experts, and if I had my hypothesis, this guy would talk about everything I would say. He would put it down. He would just say, "Oh, no," and I mean, some of the things were, I'm not putting myself on this imperialistic pedestal, but some of the things was pretty genius, and I'm like, wow, how could you put that down, right? And I'm realizing I'm in a toxic relationship with a guy, with my friend, that's supposed to be my best friend, and it was just really like, what do I do? How do I get out of something like this, And you eventually, one, you have to admit to yourself that you're in a toxic relationship, and this, even though this is your best friend, this person, you have to realize that this person has no interest, with what you have to say or your opinions or anything. So you have to really come to a conclusion and be mindful of people like this and realize that, this person is doing more harm to me than good. I'm having more arguments than happiness, right? And it's something that we have to be mindful. If you're having a lot of arguments all the time, you're in a toxic relationship. And it's time to get help. It's time to go. If you can't do it yourself, therapy. I've been talking about this for 30 years to everybody, to explain to them that it's okay, right? Whether you're in a girlfriend-boyfriend relationship, a marriage, or just a friendship, But I eventually let the brother go. I just, was like, hey, I can't be around a guy like this. You're supposed to have a buddy where you guys talk and laugh and have a good time, watch sports, all that. That wasn't the deal. This guy was a fault seeker, right? That's part of the narcissist trait. They listen to you and they try to listen for fault, or they listen to you to try to put you down for whatever you say, and I'm like, I don't want to be in there. And then, we're talking about detoxing too, right? Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yes, let's talk about detoxing. That was my next question.
Yeah, because people are in these relationships, and then they get out of these relationships, and they don't understand, why. Oh, you've heard this statement a lot when because people come up to me all the time and they ask me, why do I keep attracting the same person over and over again, right? And the thing is that they don't detox from the last person that they had. And what happens is that they go out and seek someone that's similar to their immune system, that's similar to their DNA. And it's not complicated to understand, because we have similar DNAs, and this is what chemistry is all about. So when you leave that particular person, your body is still yearning for that person, right? And if you don't detox, what's actually happening is you're not attracting most of the time. I'm not saying all the time, but most of the time you're not attracting, because that's what people think. They say, why do I keep attracting the same person over and over again? No, you're actually seeking that person over and over again, because you're trying to find somebody similar to the person you just broke up with, because you haven't totally detoxed from this person. So your body is still yearning for someone similar to that person. So you're actually, when two people come together, the first thing we do is what? Smell, right? So when you're in a group and or say you're at a party or whatever, you're walking around and you're actually seeking out someone similar to you. One of my examples is when you have a drug addict, and his drug dealer goes to jail. Does the drug addict stop taking the drug? No. The drug dealer is in jail, but
right.
now the drug addict is without his dealer. So what does the drug addict do? Go out and look for another dealer, right?
Right.
And he looks for the dealer that has the particular drugs that he's looking for. That's the same thing with us when we don't detox. So if we don't completely detox from this person, we go out and we try to seek someone that's similar to that person. And we are actually looking for someone closer to our major histocompatibility complex, our DNA, also our HLA, our human leukocyte androgens. You know, so we go out and we look for someone that has a similar. Yeah. So it's pretty.
I love that. I love that. And let's talk about, you know, with detoxing, what are some different, you know, steps people can take to detox, you know, that you would recommend for our listeners that are listening? So, because they might not know, some people might not know how to really do that, right? You got to do it the right way in order for it to work.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, the things that I'm going to say is just the general things. We just don't realize it. I mean, you know, it's not a prestidigitation or a legerdemain or a magic trick. It's just the simple things as making sure that, you know, you get rid of everything of your significant other, making sure that you get rid of those pictures, get rid of those letters, get rid of those texts. Go on your phone and delete all of those texts that you have. Delete those pictures that you have on your phone, right? And making sure that you spend time with real friends, doing other things, so your mind isn't thinking of your significant other, right? So novelty is one of the keys to doing new things and different things and treating yourself. And for God's sakes, don't just stay at home, you know, moping, because home is probably one of the places that you're going to remember your significant other because you spend your time there, right? You know, so try to make sure that you go out and do things and things that are going to make you laugh. You know, go to a comedy place. That's one of the greatest medicines that's ever created by the laws of nature, by God, is to go to a comedy place and listen to some comedians and laugh. If you can't go, then if you're at home, then go turn to YouTube and or Netflix and listen to some comedians there, and making sure that you're not talking about this person and bringing this up, because the minute these things happen, and two, be careful of meeting this person often. You know, I understand when some people have kids and you got to see the person, but, you know, if they're coming to pick up the kids, do things like this. Okay, well, send the kid out. You know, you drive up. I mean, you know, your significant drives up and open the door and let the kid walk to the car, right? Hopefully, you know, the kid is walking right by now. Or if he comes to the door, don't let him in, right? You know, just make sure that your child is at the door. And this is the reason why I'm saying this, is because all it takes is, one, the person just talking to you. You know, just getting that, hearing the frequency of one's voice could trigger where we store our information. And once we hear the voice, it triggers our hippocampus, and it also triggers the pleasure centers. So it sends the messages as to, oh my God, this is my man, because all he has to do is come to the door and be like, you know, baby, I really miss you. You're like, oh my God, right? And for God's sakes, don't let him touch you. You know, we have this thing that's called gross touch, soft touch. And all they have to do is touch you and the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, like our central nervous system, we have the same thing in our skin. And it tells us who's touching us and how they're touching us, and if we've been touched by this person before, and when that person touched us, what does it do to us? What does it make us do, right? And so it has its own nerve system where it will go up our vagus and, send messages up our vagus into our hippocampus, and it's like, oh, this is John. And next thing you know, your body responds to that touch. It's no different than when we touch a glass, we know it's a glass. We know, if we're touching something hot, right? So touch and being touched is very significant. I mean, it's imperative not to be touched by your significant other. Yeah.
I know our listeners are gaining some amazing nuggets tonight listening to Dr. Sim. He's really going deep tonight. So, Dr. Sim, we might have some listeners on that are listening they're dating, right? And a lot of people, they don't like to date, or that's the hard part.
Oh,
they feel like that's the hard part.
I'm sorry.
Of the
I
process.
just wanted to make sure one thing too. The primary somatosensory cortex too. I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned that. That's when we touch something.
Oh wow. Amazing.
Yeah, that's so when we touch something. I'm sorry, because I had just mentioned the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, but I didn't mention that too as well. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. So what are some healthy strategies you would give to listeners who are dating, so it can help them date the healthy way and the right way,
Yeah. I think it's really, really important. This is something really simple. I think it's really, really important. Before we jump out into the dating arena, I think we need to do our homework first. I mean, this is like something that's going to be like totally fun. And what is it? It's getting to know self, right? It's getting to know self. Respecting self is knowing self in order to love self, right? So I think it's so important to take out time to get to know self and to understand your previous your past relationships, right? So to understand your past relationships, this helps you to understand your non-negotiable requirements, your needs, and your wants, and to understand that those are totally different. All three of those are totally different. Understand your non-negotiable requirements. What is it that you totally won't deal with? Your deal breakers, right? Understand that completely. Because I tell, especially my message to women, you're the employer. Us men, we're interested in trying to get the job. So the power lies in your hands. You have that advantage over us because you're the one who's going to say yes or no. You're the one who decides whether this relationship is going to go from 1 to 10. The power's in your hands, right? We're trying to get the job, so we're being interviewed by you. So being that you're the employer, you have to know exactly what you're hiring. So it's really, really important for you to understand your non-negotiable requirements, understand your needs, understand your wants, right? And real quick, I just want to say your non-negotiable requirements. Say I wanted to make a meatloaf, right? So I wanted to make a meatloaf. And if I make a meatloaf, I got to have my certain meat. So depending on whatever you make your meat out of, if you have ground turkey, ground chicken, or ground beef, well, if you don't have that beef, if you don't have that meat, that's non-negotiable. And some of us try to be in a relationship without that meat, but that's non-negotiable. You got to have that meat. You got to have your ingredients that you have to put in it. So you have your ingredients and everything. You got it all together. And now you need, what is your need? My need in order to fix this is I need heat, right? So in order for me to make this meatloaf, I need heat. I need fire. It's a need. You can't negotiate it, right?
Right.
So, so you need that. Now, what's my wants? Once my meat is done, once the meatloaf is done, people put all kind of stuff on it. That's your wants. Some people put tomato sauce on it. Some people put turkey gravy on it. Some people have said they put mustard on it. You know, those are your wants. But, you know, for years, we were always taught to look for wants more than non-negotiables and our need. You know, we you know, at one time, we would just look for wants. I want her to be fine. I want her to have a nice body. I want him to be making six figures. I want him to have the finest clothes and car. You know, those are our wants, because it has nothing to do with how that person is going to treat you whatsoever. You know, some people turn down a person who works for a plumbing service or a garbage man for a corporate guy, thinking, well, because he's corporate, because he's educated, he's going to treat me. But if he doesn't have relationship skills, he's not going to treat you no different than the other guy.
Good one. Great. I'm glad that you shine light on that, because, you know, I know the divorce rate is high as well too. So what are your thoughts on that? You know, do you think people are just rushing into marriage, or do you think they are obsessed with the idea of the wedding and the honeymoon part of it, and not of actually trying to actually build a marriage and do the work? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's the rushing thing. You know, I mean, everybody. I mean, the kind of wedding. I mean, I've heard the cliche about, you know, everybody's thinking about spending a lot of money on the wedding and everything. Yeah, I understand that. But it's are you ready to be married is the key. You know, do you have the relationship skills? Have you had premarital counseling? You know, I think that's so important. And we jump into relationships without having the skill, because we're not taught about relationships in grammar school, which we should. We're not taught in relationships in high school, because some people don't go to college, some people don't become therapists or psychologists, so they don't really know much about relationships. So, you know, we don't have those lessons, that which I think is the most important lesson that we should have in school. You know, I think they've taken away sex education too as well, right? So we know nothing about relationships. So when it comes to getting into a relationship, we just jump into a relationship based on our emotions, just based on what we feel, and then we discover that, you know, it takes work. It really takes work. And remember when I said earlier, falling in love takes no effort. Staying in love and working toward love and working towards your marriage and your relationship takes effort. So what happens is when it's time to put the effort in, we leave the relationship. We think the relationship is over. We think we should break up because I don't feel those, you know, butterflies that you felt when you first met each other, right? That's the altered state of consciousness. That's the euphoria that we feel when we fall in love, right? All of the chemistry things that I was naming, right? So so from there, we don't feel as much, but that's what novelty is adding more things into your relationship. And then it's time to work at the relationship now. You know, because we put our best foot forward, of course, you know, we all say that. And then once we realize, oh my God, you know, this guy throws his socks on the floor without putting them in the dirty clothes, you know, that means it's time to talk. But you don't, right? You start telling yourself it's time to break up because look what this guy does. But this is what working at a relationship is. A relationship is work. And some people even think, you know, you shouldn't have to work at a relationship. Okay. All right, because people, we change. You know, your significant other, may have the same ideology, views, and theories, but the older you get, you change. Just because you're married doesn't mean you're going to think the same as you get older. You're going to start changing your ideology, your views. One person may go to college and learn a little bit more, than what the other one did, and their views may change on life, right? So, and it's not about breaking up. It's just about, okay, I can deal with the change, and, I want to learn from your change as well, right? So it's all about working at that relationship and communication, and I don't mean just communicating. This is one thing that I would love to correct. As we say, communication is the key to a wonderful relationship, a vitalized, harmonious, cohesive working relationship. But actually, it's understanding the communication. That's the key, because we all communicate. If communication was the key, then everybody would be in a wonderful relationship. We wouldn't be divorced, right?
Right,
it's
right.
Understanding the communication. Now, yeah, there's a lot of tools out there to learn how to communicate. I'm not against that. But I do want to share this to everyone. I want to tell you all, when it comes to the best tool to learn how to communicate, guess what? We all have the tool. We all have the tool how to be a good listener and a great communicator. We've all used it. You see, every last one of us who's graduated from kindergarten to first grade, from grammar school to high school, from high school to college, we used our communication skills. We used our listening skills. Remember when I said the key to communication is understanding the communication. So we listen to our teachers to understand in order to do our homework. We listen to our teachers to understand in order to get a grade. We listen to our teachers to understand in order to graduate. Those are the same tools that you use in a relationship. Those are the same tools that you use in a business relationship. Those are the same tools that you use when you're negotiating with someone. The exact same tools. It's being an empirical listener in order to respond correctly. And that is one of the greatest advice that I can give one about how do we communicate.
And that's so important, that communication. And what about listening? Let's talk about that. Do you think people are good listeners?
I think we have the skill to listen. If you look at yourself and realize all the things that you accomplished, especially educated people,
right,
you use your listening skills, right? Because we had to listen to our teachers.
But people really don't do that. They don't listen.
But they don't listen. They don't realize what it is that we become selfish, and we don't realize, we're not mindful that skill is the exact same skill that we apply into a boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband and wife marriage, or I'm sorry, I don't know exactly your audience, or same sex, so whatever relationship you're in, it's the same skill. You listen in order to take you listen and you study. So, sort of like what we use in psychology and therapy, call it mirroring, right? What I'm hearing you say is, right? So you mirror back what the person is saying so you can make sure you understand. Heck, when I first learned that, I use that in general life, period. If I don't understand what you said, or if I did understand, I still want to be clear. So I'm going to ask you. So what I'm hearing you say is you want to talk about listening and how people listen. Is that correct? And and the person says, and you could say, is there more? You know, and you can add on to that. But that's just how simple it is to be mindful, to listen, to understand the communication. Because you have the skill. You did it. You did it. You did it when you were in kindergarten. Remember, you got to go through all these grades. I'm from Chicago, so we didn't have the middle school. We just went from first grade to 8th grade, and then you went straight to high school from there. But imagine somebody going from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're in 5th grade. You're in 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. You're using that skill, right? But when we get into a relationship, we don't realize that we have that skill that you could still use when someone's talking, right? And we can't be so, especially us men too, we can't be that machoistic, egotistic, supercilious, draconian, tyrant type of person where we just don't, we want to dominate the conversation and I'm the man. I do the talking and you don't listen. And, you know, you listen to me only, you know, stuff like that. But that destroys, you know, that's because we tend to want to be right all the time in relationships when we want to communicate. We got to stop listening to each other for thought-seeking and listening to each other so we could be right, because that's a game that you play. You know, I want to be right. Man, the beauty of listening and realizing that you got it wrong and you now want to get it right, and then when you understand your significant other, oh man, it's such rewarding when you realize, oh, that's what you were trying to say. Okay, all right, okay, I get it, okay, I was wrong. And then, you know, it takes a real human being to be able to admit. And again, I think I heard one of your interviews with one of the doctors, and she was saying right or wrong, and she's so right. It's not really about right or wrong. It's about what you're learning from the person when you're listening, right? And it's all about getting understanding from the person, because even though you don't understand, it's not a wrong. You just don't understand yet. So that's the same thing when you're in school and the teacher's explaining something on the board. You do what? You raise your hand. And even if it gets to the point where you don't understand after class, you still don't understand, what do? You personally go to the teacher. And you still tell the teacher, I just don't get it. Right? Same thing. I'm so long-winded, you have to stop me.
Well, Dr. Tim, you have gave us some amazing nuggets tonight, and I know our listeners have definitely enjoyed it. So I know you have created multiple tables for yourself and built multiple tables. So how did you create your seat at the table?
Oh, just like I mentioned at the beginning, you know, I just finally realized, you know, what my calling was and what God really wanted me to do. You know, to go out and to share this information and to help people. And I went for it and just said, hey, nothing's going to stop me. Nothing's going to keep me from doing what I really love doing. And nothing's going to keep me from helping people. And, I'm just very passionate. And I just went out and just did it.
You just did it. I love it. So we all have a journey to success. And so what did failure teach you on your journey?
Oh, man, it just taught me so much. It just, it makes me smile. My failure makes me smile because I have an opportunity to correct myself, and when I learn from the lesson, it's actually the lesson that I have. Even sometimes I might, and again, you see, just as I laughed, because I know when I'm trying to fool myself from my failures, because it's a lesson, and I just love when you realize, wow, this was a lesson, and the lesson was actually a gift. And that's what I learned from my failures. I receive them as gifts because it causes me to go back to the drawing board. And then when I figure it out, I'm like, wow, had I not. And then you end up learning even more when you go back to the drawing board. It might be something like really simple. But when you go back to the drawing board, you learn more than just that one little simple thing that you were trying to research, that you were trying to find, that you were trying to discover in self, And I just learned so much from my failure. It's just a wonderful gift to me. It really is. It's just a wonderful gift.
I love it. So what did success teach you, Dr. Sims? Because you're very successful.
Oh, I'm sorry, what did you say?
What did success teach you? Because you're very successful.
What did success teach me?
Yes.
It taught me. It actually taught me. It actually said, see, you can do it. And there's been times in my life where I didn't use my creative visualization, where I didn't think that I could do something that seemed so far-fetched, so far away. And my success really just taught me a lot to keep pushing and to keep teaching and to keep learning. Mm-hmm. My success taught me how much joy I'm getting from people. When people drink or do things to make them feel good, what I do makes me feel so good. My success has taught me that I can do anything that I put my mind to, and to share that with other people. Yeah. No one's ever asked me that before. You caught me off guard, and that was wonderful. I had to just think about that right now, and I'm probably going to come up with more once we hang up. But that was deep, and I'm glad that you asked me that. That was deep. You see, that's what I'm saying just now, like that. It's just like, this is just so rewarding when you get these new things that stimulate your brain to make you think of something that that you just never thought about, It's just totally awesome. Lesson. That was a lesson that you just gave me to think about, and that's just totally awesome. So, yeah.
I love that. So, Dr. Sims, we're in a new year and a new decade. So what can we expect from you in this new year and new decade of 2020?
Yeah, I'm going to be doing something a little different this year.
Okay.
I'm actually going to concentrate on sharing information to therapists and psychologists, neuropsychologists, counselors, facilitators, and coaches. And I want to talk more about how to solve some of our issues. Well, not our issues, but our patients' when we are helping them, there's just some things that I would just like to share to other therapists about the neuroscience of solutions, just to give them a little more of what they could tell the couples when the couples come in. You know, like for instance, I'm going to be doing a webinar on. You've heard this statement. When I come home and I'm stressed out and I want to talk to my husband or significant other, and I just want him to fill in the blank. What am I going to say, Ashley?
I just want him to pay attention to me. I'm assuming.
Yes.
Is that the answer?
Yeah, I just want him to listen, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I want to explain how to share to a couple why the male goes straight into the fix-it mode, and does he listen when you are explaining your issue, when you come home and you're pissed off and you want to tell him, because they, you know, that's the first thing is like, and then next thing you know, I just want him to listen. He starts telling me what to do and what I should do, right? But there is a reason why the male goes straight to the fix-it mode. And I also want to explain to the male why she just wants you to listen from a science point of view, to have them to have a better understanding why we do what we do when it comes to the certain issues. So what I want to do this year is that I just want to target more clinicians and say, hey, this is what is going on with this couple, and this is what we need to share with the couple so they can have a better understanding why my husband goes straight to the fix-it mode. So she could say, oh, now I get it. Okay. Because it's really a science to it. It really is. It's a science to it. And we're missing out when we aren't fully aware why he's going straight to the fix-it mode and why she just wants you to listen. So it's a science to both ends. But I have the solution as to why we do it. And I want to share things like that. So it's going to be several things. That's just one. But it's going to be several things, and I'm just going to be having these webinars. And I think it's going to be totally awesome this year.
So definitely make sure that you support Dr. Sims, get to know him, connect with him. He is definitely somebody to know and someone to connect with. I know our listeners, I know you have received some amazing nuggets tonight. This is Love Month, and Dr. Sims is your relationship expert. So definitely connect with him, follow him, support him. He is doing some amazing things and making great impact. So Dr. Sims, would you please tell our listeners how they can support you and follow you and connect with you and book you on all social media platforms?
Yes. Book me.
Yes, book you.
Yeah, really seriously, book me. I speak in organizations, church, whatever. I mean, especially too, if you have a church and you want me to speak at your church, hey, that's what I'm doing. Actually, I just did that Wednesday. I'll be speaking at another church Wednesday again, the same church Wednesday again, and it's probably a post on my page. So you can contact me on Facebook too as well. The Ryeal, Ryeal, Sims, Simms, the relationship scientist. That's the page that I really use. There's another page that's Dr. Ryeal Sims. I'm not using that one just yet. And then my business page, Dr. Ryeal Sims Relationship. So you can look for both of those. And you could look me up, Dr. Ryeal Sims. And right now, my administrator, I think they're redoing my website, so I don't know if it's going to go straight there. But just look up my name, and it'll take you straight to my website too as well. But yeah, just contact me and book me. Yes. See, I have a new agent. I have a new agent. You're my agent now, right?
I love it. I love it.
For your colleges, your schools,
colleges,
your church.
Book him. No, seriously. This, Dr. Sims, he knows this. He has the results as well. He's not just saying he's a relationship expert. He has the results.
Yeah, man. I've been doing this for a very long time. I've been, I toured with the best. I've been out there. And especially with adolescents too. The kids. I love talking to the kids. Tavis Smiley had a organization, Youth to Leaders, and it was people from all over the world, experts teaching the kids about leadership and entrepreneurship. And I was the guy to talk about relationships, and it was like totally awesome. When they leave, they had a full package, right? And we did this all over the world, so so book me, definitely.
Yes. So Dr. Sims,
and I talk about everything. Like I said, I talk about the spirit, everything. I everything. You name it, I talk about it.
Yes. So I would like to thank you, Dr. Sims, for coming back to the table again and taking time out of your very, very busy schedule to share all this amazing knowledge and wisdom that you shared with us tonight to make us better with our relationships, personal and professional. It has been a powerful interview, and I can't wait to invite you back.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. I really, really appreciate it, and I appreciate you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And I look forward, Dr. Sims, to working with you and collaborating with you in this new year.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Yes, let's do it. So I would like to give a special thanks to my intern, Sarah, from Tennessee State University, and my intern, Vontaria, from Winston-Salem State University. You all may follow me on Facebook at Ashley Little and on Instagram at _Ashley A. Little. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Creating Your Seat at the Table, where Ashley speaks with corporate professionals, celebrities, entrepreneurs, authors, and speakers who are transitioning or have transitioned to entrepreneurship.